Hello, my name is Benjamin White, and I am an adjunct professor of New Testament at Gordon-Conwell Theological Seminary. In this seminary snippet, I want to address a question that is often on my mind. Why study the New Testament today? It might seem like a simple question with fairly obvious answers, and in some ways, it is. But it's a very carefully worded question that I think is rather important. Let me explain. When I was in graduate school, I was actually initially in systematic theology, not New Testament, which is maybe a story for another day. But while I was studying Christian theology, I remember one of the things that a professor told me. It sticks with me to this very moment. He said, "It is relatively easy to say orthodox things, that is, to understand what Christianity teaches and to repeat that back to yourself and to others." He said, "What is much harder and much rarer is to know how to connect with people and how to persuade them that the Christian tradition has something relevant and important to say for this particular moment in time." I bring that energy, that desire to say something constructive for today to my study of the historical documents of early Christianity. In fact, right now, I'm a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard Divinity School, where I'm working on a project that looks at how the early Christians were able to embrace their marginalization, a form of power and weakness, as the Apostle Paul says, and how they were still able to grow, even to flourish, and to eventually become the dominant religion of the Roman world. I think that story inspires us today as Christians in the modern West, where for a lot of us, not everyone, but for a lot of us, we're not used to experiences of marginalization, but they are increasingly common. The early Christians inspire us to have hope. In fact, when you worship the God who raised a crucified Galilean from the dead, you can't help but have hope for the future. One of my favorite quotes that comes from later Christian leaders not long after the New Testament is from the Bishop Cyprian, who said this as he looked at the collection of people in his flock, many of whom were not particularly well-born or honorable in the eyes of society. He said this. He said, "We do not speak great things, but we live them." And so when I teach New Testament, that is very much what I'm inviting students to do, to join me in exploring the life that Jesus has for us and shows us in the documents of the New Testament. So I'd invite you to join me for a class next semester at the Hamilton campus, Exploring the New Testament, where we can think about what the New Testament says and what it means for us today.